Hello everyone, 5150 here. Today I'd like to talk a little bit about Storytime with 5150 and why I'm doing it and what I've done so far. The original intent was to do primarily Nordic mythology stories, and I'll go into why that is in a moment. But I've done a few other things under the heading of Storytime with 5150, mainly because, I wanted to do something and I really didn't have any other way to label, the poems and small stories and stuff. Not only that, I don't know if you've noticed, but Norse mythology stories are kind of long and they're pretty involved with a lot of names. For someone who is terrible with names, it's a bit of a task getting proficient with telling the story. Now, I don't use any prompters. I consider myself a bard. My book is in my head. If I tell a story, I've memorized it. So, in memorizing these Norse mythology stories, as long as they are, and with as many details and names as they have, that's rough. And I have a full-time job, so I work. So I have to divide my time between projects. Now, learning the next Norse mythology story is absolutely an ongoing process. That one will be how Thor got his hammer. Now, for example, that story is particularly long. It has a number of names which need to be gotten right, a number of details which need to be gotten right. There's a place or two for a little, embellishment or personalizing it, but these details really need to be gotten right. And I want to do it correctly. And I believe I can provide a much better sound quality than the Binding of Fenrir. My equipment has improved since then. So why Norse mythology? Well, I'll tell you. I am of Northern European descent. I look very German, or at least so I'm told. And I'm a firm believer in that in order to understand where you're going, it's very helpful to understand where you've been. And the question of religion has been something that has been on my mind for a great number of years, since high school, in fact. As far as which religion I personally ascribe to, I am not prepared to get into something so personal on this very public venue. So if you know me, you know, or you can ask. If you don't know me, it's more personal information than I'm willing and ready to give in this very public forum. So the stories, they're not just fairy tales. To the people who told them originally, and these stories were passed on in an oral tradition. You learned the story by hearing it, and if you were very lucky, you heard it several times and by several different tellers, because it's not exactly the same when any two storytellers tell it. Sometimes the differences are small, sometimes the differences are not so small, but the names and the details need to be correct. As a person of Northern European descent, I find that I want to know about the religion of my ancestors, the tribal religion of the people that I came from. It seems appropriate. Maybe it'll help a little bit in the understanding of who I am. Well, that's about all I have for this evening. Thank you for tuning in. 5150 out.